Vaccine should be on the way now if what Mr. Boss Mustafa said is anything go by. Is this good news or bad news? Are we supposed to be excited about this, or is it too little, too late? Have we waited for too long?
No, it's absolutely splendid news. You know that currently there's a phenomenon in the world called vaccine nationalism,
Oh, really?
where countries are beginning to grab the most they can for themselves. And all of the guys who've contributed to this bit of the equitable spread of vaccination are the biggest countries in the world, who unfortunately don't have enough for themselves. So to see that the COVAX program, the Gavi WHO-led program, still works is actually good to see. It's actually bear some fruit. So to receive 3.92 million doses of the vaccine, while nowhere near what we need, is something that is very pleasing to actually the mind, and to see that the world has come together to try and do it in an equitable manner, because we can't compete with them, financially or economically or even from a strength perspective.
Truly. Now, what are the different kinds of vaccines? Because I've seen, heard, and read of the AstraZeneca, the Pfizer, I'm hearing different things attached to different kinds, and I'm not quite sure what, which, where needs to be used for who. So can you please explain the different types?
So when we say type, I'm going to be careful not to use the word type. There are different brands of the COVID-19 vaccine, because they are COVID-19 vaccines. They are all typically formulated by taking one gene component on the gene envelope of the virus and trying to replicate it. And that replication is not supposed to be injurious to the human, whilst giving us the characteristics. Remember, the principle is that it stimulates antibodies in you so that the body can recognize the virus whenever it pops in, and therefore deal with it when at very early stage and prevent infection, or at least reduce severity of the infection. So there are different makers of vaccines. There's the Pfizer, we have the BioNTech Pfizer vaccine, which was the first one that came through from an EUA perspective. You've got the Moderna one. You've got the AstraZeneca base. You've got the Johnson & Johnson bit as well. You've got many more, the Russian version, the Chinese version. Chinese vaccine started vaccinating in October, but the efficacy was not the greatest, and they ramped up a bit in terms of the quality, and they jigged it a bit to get what they get now. But they're not sharing a lot of data, so I'm not 100% sure about how great the Chinese vaccine is. I mean, peer review to the extent that the other ones have been. So it's not about different vaccines in terms of type, it's different brands of the COVID-19 vaccine.
All right, so why are we getting AstraZeneca? Is there something about that particular brand that is more suited to Africa, or is just the closest to get?
Well, it's got to be the closest to get. What I mean by closest to get is AstraZeneca is the Oxford Group's product, so to speak. So that's very European. Somehow, maybe in the Trump era, it probably might be easier for the WHO to get stuff out of the European sort of alliance than it would have been from America back in the day. Biden has come in, and that might change things. But more importantly, it's actually about access. And remember that even the AstraZeneca vaccine that the EU funded its development for, the EU is in a battle with them to get the country that the EU needs in first go. So it's really, it's not easy. When there's fear and paranoia, it's what happens. We're getting that one because it's probably available. It is good. It is a notch less efficacious, just a slight notch, 60.9%, as against something of 94% for Pfizer, all of that. But remember that it does the job. It does the job. And the main job of the vaccine, please get this very clearly, is to reduce severity of illness and death. I need to repeat that, Sam, just because people get it right. So if everybody were to get the COVID infection and it becomes asymptomatic and all of that, we wouldn't worry. We wouldn't have this competition.
Truly.
But it's the people that become ill, that become sick, and the people that pass on, that's the real focus is on, and that's the real mitigation for this crisis that is in this moment that we need.
Now, something Mr. Boss Mustafa also said in connection to the AstraZeneca, all the vaccines Nigeria is getting from COVAX facility would be AstraZeneca, which has a good range in terms of storage for us, because it uses +2 to +8% of refrigeration. Can you explain that, please?
So if you look at the previous ones that were first approved, for example, Pfizer came on first and requires -70 to -80. Sam, there's no way on earth that Nigeria will be able to raise that kind of capacity to store those vaccines in the time we have to deal with this pandemic.
We are giant of Africa, Ntia. We are giant of Africa. We should be able to do that.
So you're a tottering giant, Sam. You're a toddler that's just too big for his food.
Oh, damn.
You must be very realistic. Whenever I hear a giant of Africa story, I laugh personally. You're just populous. So when we're able to tap that mass, then we try to as giant. Right now, we're a bumbling toddler in many ways. I'll give you a typical example. We've had this vaccine thing. Remember, at a point in time, even Gavi was saying Nigeria isn't serious about getting its thing and all of that.
I remember that.
Thankfully, Konjawela was chairperson of Gavi, and maybe that helped a bit with us. But Ghana's gotten theirs, Ivory Coast has gotten theirs. We're getting out after that. South Africa got theirs way back. So where's the giantism in this conversation? I'd rather step away from that. It might be tongue in cheek for you to say giant of Africa in this context. Okay. We are going to humbly wait. Thankfully receive the 4 million or 3.92 million doses that are coming in today. We are going to hopefully, be sensible about, which is my next real big worry, the sensibility and transparency of the distribution. And when we get that first hurdle right, because what is more than just vaccinating people, it's also calming the system, the population, that, there's a place, there's a plan that's working, and that people are fidel to the plan. I think there's a big impact in that context beyond just rushing to vaccinate the number of people that be vaccinated.
All right, so that means beyond the idea that it's accessible, that's the only one we can get because that's the only one we can store.
Johnson & Johnson coming through, that's probably what might even be a better proposition because it's a single-dose vaccine. Okay. Again, slightly less efficacious, but it does the job, in terms of getting a good number of people vaccinated. Because remember, what you want to achieve is a herd immunity. So, and then in that context, so it's what we can get from the COVAX right now, because COVAX is in talks with everybody, but they will get what works for this part of the world. For storage, crucially, because cold chain can mess up all of your efforts. And also the fact that, it's available to us at this time. I don't know if after the 16 million, because there are other, I don't know if you know, that the part of what Boss Mustafa has said was that more than a fifth of all the vaccines required in Nigeria would be donations. And so people who are donating may bring other brands. If the NAFDAC approves, then they'll bring other brands in because it's about access. And you leverage where you can leverage to get what you get. There are nice companies around, and I'm really good to see some for the corporate world step in and try and put something on the table. You've got people like Ntia, Dangote Group, BUA, all of that, trying to put something on the table, and I think that's really good to see.
Yeah, the COVID guys. Okay, so
yeah, exactly.
The efficacy you speak about, because you've said more times than I can number, it basically does the job. I know that the different brands of vaccines have different percentages. You see 96 here, you see a little bit lower. Should we be concerned about the difference in the efficacy for the different vaccines?
Frankly, I would say no. Not that it doesn't matter, please don't get me wrong. It doesn't matter. You want to get the most efficacious. But what is the realistic efficacy if I need to move a vaccine that has to be kept at -80? We've never been able to do that kind of cold chain widespread in Nigeria. For example, I give you an example. The stored aliquots of the coronavirus test should be stored, the ones they store, because after every test, you must store a portion of that sample in case you need to go back to it to retest or if there are legal liability issues from the test. It should be stored at -80. I can only count how many cases in Nigeria that are able to store parts of their vaccine. There are very few that have that one freezer that can do, and it's probably one per site, per state. So it's one minus, it's an archived freezer. It's stored stuff. That's where you put sperm from sperm donors for 40 years. So it maintains that, that's not cheap or anywhere near that available on that kind of scale. So imagine the polio vaccines are going to remote areas in Nigeria. Where are they going to get -70 going to get that kind of reach, if you like. How many states don't even have that degree of archive refrigeration in the state, in the entire state. So it means that, to be realistic, you might go for something slightly less efficacious, but easier to move around, maintaining its integrity. But if I got 100 million doses of Pfizer vaccine and they all go bad by the time they reach the end user, what's the point?
Yeah, that would be terrible. Well, fortunately, I'm an incurable optimist, so something has to happen. Now, let's talk about the doses. I heard you talk about single and double dose earlier. Is this something we should be concerned about? And the AstraZeneca, which is it? Is it single or double?
It's double. And again, when the Johnson & Johnson vaccine becomes that, because that's the most advanced single dose vaccine, when it becomes, it would be easier to do a single dose. One time you walk away, that's it, one bang, thank you very much.
Yeah.
But even the U.S., I mean, look at what Biden is doing in the U.S. Biden has said, don't keep second doses waiting for people who are taking the first. Give everybody at least one dose. You get something like 50% coverage by the first dose. Okay. And the second one is like a booster that raises your coverage level to that level. But that even that first one is something. And they're even now trying to tweak the time interval between first and second dose to give them time to procure and have enough for the second dose.
Yeah.
So it used to be 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, depending on which one you're taking, Pfizer or Moderna. But now they're going to 12 weeks, that you can still get that same increase in 12 weeks. So it gives them time to procure more, but it was important for them to get many vaccines around the country in the U.S. and have a lot more people, particularly in the hottest spots, vaccinated to reduce the amount of deaths and the amount of people falling severely ill. Hospital pressure that arises from that.
So that means that the 4 million we're getting would be for 2 million people?
Absolutely. It's for 2 million people.
Oh, damn. It just feels smaller, just thinking that
it is smaller. I'm sorry, it is smaller. It's for 2 million people, and what I'm keen to see, and Sam, at least one thing you need to focus on is to see the plan. What 2 million get this? You get what I mean?
Yeah.
What 2 million get this? How clear and transparent is that plan? Do we get vaccines that come into the country and get trapped in after work? Forgive my whatever. Or do you want to get vaccines that come into the country and they're seeking the right first tier of people to get it? And off the top of my head, just what I know, generally by my experience and by what standard policy typically is around the world, you want to get the vulnerable medical frontline people first vaccinated.
Yeah.
Then you want to get, the medical folks are the ones that you want to go for first. You also want to go for people in society who are clearly most vulnerable. So the elderly with underlying conditions who are likely to become severely ill and all of that. And then when you get beyond that step, then you go for the next, it's like that, a very clear, transparent step ladder version of this.
Okay. So does the vaccine cover mutation? Because we know that COVID-19 has mutated through time. Does it cover...
Yes. That's the biggest nightmare for anyone managing the COVID pandemic. So the current vaccines, AstraZeneca, for example, AstraZeneca covers, of course, the original variant from Wuhan. Yeah. It also covers the UK variant recently, and the South African. The Brazilian variant is thought to be slightly less covered, only slightly less covered. You see, there are cross reactions, but that degree of efficacy will drop in terms of the Brazilian variant. In Nigeria, we do not have too much of that. Hopefully, there's the current sequencing study going on, I think, at Ede in the Redeemers University facility there. And they're trying to see that the sequence the genome from different parts of the country to see what's prevalent around here. But we're very clear we've got the UK variant here, we've got the South African variant very clearly here in Nigeria, but the original one, of course, which is still circulating. And if we get that coverage for that one, it will give us a good sense of, at least, good foot forward, if you like.
Like I say, we don't have it, hopefully, in Nigeria, because nothing is certain. But let's talk about, the idea that we're getting vaccines from other countries. It's wonderful what, the COVAX program is doing, trying to ensure that countries like ours get as much as we need. But I'm concerned. When I hear vaccines, I hear Russia, India, China. How is it that there is no African country? We have a continent with over 50 countries, And somehow, not one country in my continent is responsible to some degree of producing a vaccine.
So I have two schools of thought around this in my head, and they're competing. The first one is that I hear your angst. I hear what you say. I would challenge you that, frankly, in the world of tomorrow, there should be less nationalism and more globalism, if you like. So when I look at why I'm very certain we're not there yet, is we've never been set up to be able to do stuff like this. Come on, we've had malaria all these decades. How have we dealt with it? Every step we've taken for malaria has been handed to us by people who don't have malaria anymore. We haven't had it for centuries. We've had local, all the other things we've done, vaccinations, polio, the work. I mean, Bill Gates Foundation literally had to step in, kick polio out of Nigeria, despite our own 3 callous intransigence to even follow through on a plan they have paid for and provided for us. So if you look at all of this, how are we then going to be surprised that the pandemic hits everywhere in the world simultaneously, and Africa is where you want to see the solution? It would have been possible if we're set up to. Just so you know, this COVID vaccines have been the fastest turnaround for vaccines ever before known to man. So from disease identification, from viral genome sequencing to vaccination is the fastest ever. And why was it so? They already had plug-and-play vaccine replicators. They had in the vaccine system. So they had things for influenza and all of that. They were just sitting down to stimulate and plug. And all they had to do was bring in the COVID virus, select that gene they are targeting, and put it into the same replicator. Now, we still have flu. We don't even do the flu jab, but we have had enough things to make us say, if we're going to do this, we would have done this. Come on now, we don't even produce the basic things we need for our basic health needs. How much more a COVID vaccine that's novel, that's new, and that's a global pandemic?
Well, forgive me. How do you... forgive me, Dr. Ntia, for thinking African, yes. But when I read about history and how this continent led a lot of things, educationally with Timbuktu, civilization with Egypt, I would imagine that at least at this point there are things that we need to be at the forefront of, and it's not too ambitious to imagine that. But
you and I know that Timbuktu and that isn't taught in schools. You and I know that there's been an erosion of even the base that have given us the pride and the impetus as we learn to have that connect, to realize how proud we should be of our heritage and take it forward. We don't even teach history in schools anymore. Nigerian history. Civil War, it's not even taught in schools. What are we talking about, Sam? And you need that connect. There's been an erosion of that connect with our age-old historical first to what we should be today. And only those who venture to read widely and challenge the regular held opinions are the ones that find out what was real back in the day. I mean, even the story around amalgamation and colonialism is written by those who colonized. Meanwhile, the truth is so far different from that narrative. And I'm saying, I'm sorry, to complain about it at COVID vaccine time, it's just almost like saying, really, seriously, what do you expect? So there's a lot wrong with how we set up and how we hold our own and how we develop from that standpoint. But I'm also, my last one around this is that I'm also big, and I agree with Yuval Harari 100%, that this is the one time where every boundary should disappear. And we come together as one and deal with this problem as one and preserve our humaneness to be able to deal with future problems also as one. Fear has made us come together. The first world has come together in a way that has not been seen before the Second World War. And it is pleasing to see that even arch enemies sit down and discuss how to move forward and save their economies and save the populations ultimately. So maybe we should drop fewer boundaries, bring what we've got to the table, and hopefully get support and make it work and all of that. I mean, what's happening in Ntia, for example, is not university. It's fantastic to see what's happening there. But the prof that's there is, he's doing things that I can, as a doctor, I'm just proud of. But that's one. Hopefully there should be many happening in different centers, and then their coalitions can give us a bit of critical mass and enable us sort of step forward with what we've got locally, using the best of what we've got around the world to make what we have locally better, easier to manage, and more sustainable for us.
All right. I have many more questions for Dr. Ntia. We're talking about our vaccines coming in today. Mr. Boss Mustafa says 10 a.m. It will arrive Nigeria. I shouldn't be the only one asking Dr. Ntia questions. If you have questions of your own, contributions, or maybe even complaints, please make them known now. 0817-923-0002. 0817-923-0003. Please turn off your radio as you call us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I'm calling this.
Go ahead.
From Studio Mood.
All right.
Yeah, I just want to say that I've seen there are various vaccines coming up, right? AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Moderna, Sputnik, and just recently Johnson & Johnson, right? But of all, I've seen that Pfizer seems to have the highest efficacy. Right, 95%, and Moderna, but they are too short anyway, two jabs to take. So I just want to put it like, why not we take the single jab, which is Johnson & Johnson, but possibly we might not get that now, right? But my concern is, if virus is mutating, and if you check, the West, America, Canada, Israel, France, they are getting to herd immunity.
All right, there's a problem with... Oh my goodness, it's almost like it's raining there. Dr. Ntia, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you clearly.
Well, I don't know if you heard the caller clearly, but something in the background just
I heard him. I wasn't sure if it was a question or a comment.
Yeah.
I can respond to the question part of it. I think he almost answered his own question, actually.
Okay. All right. We're still taking your thoughts. 0817-923-0002. Vaccines coming in today. I believe our previous caller was talking about why didn't we just get this single jab type. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Chinke Daniel, Imogate,
Go ahead.
My question is, please, I stand to be corrected. I did hear him say that it's for 2 million. The vaccine that is coming in.
Yes, we're getting 4 million.
Yes.
And it's going to cover 2 million people.
Can correct me on that. Then my question is, if it is 2 million, what about? Because I know very well that our population now is about 206 or whatever million.
Okay.
What about the rest of us? Thank you.
All right. So 2 million people covered with this tranche. What's happening to the rest of the population? He's asking.
Yeah, so again, the plan by the BPF is clear. Is at least in its clarity. I mean, they plan to vaccinate 40% of Nigerians in 2020 to 2021. Another 30% in 2022 will take us to 70%. And then the remaining 30% they would vaccinate. I mean, all of this has to do with supply chain and work. So the plan for 2020 is to vaccinate 40% of Nigerians. When you look at that number, let's say you take a 200 million population sort of mark, you would be needing something in the region of 80 million vaccines. You know, from people vaccinated.
Yeah.
You know, depending on which one you use. So if you are using AstraZeneca, you would need 160 million doses in country. Our COVAX allocation, apparently, as is today on the COVAX side, is 16 million doses that will be given to us, you know, in this time, in that allocation.
Yeah.
That's from COVAX. That's the equitable share formula. And Nigeria, as you very well know, is rated as one of the more prosperous third world countries. So we'll pay something for it, if not necessarily the full value.
Okay.
The AU has a plan for which we'll pay about $3 or $3 plus for a vaccine that they're trying to get for Africa as well, where we can tap from later in the year. People are donating. So hopefully, if we can get to that 80 million people, you know, because again, I don't use the word doses, because if it's 80 million doses, that's a double dose, 160 million. If you get some of Johnson & Johnson in, then it's a single dose and all that. But 80 million people vaccinated is the plan for 2021. So his question was, you know, how do we get, the idea is get this first batch in, and if this first batch comes in, we would get, if it's organized and planned and we test our systems and it works well with much less controversy and much less scrambling, then we can probably pitch in to get the ones that are being donated, get the ones that are coming from whatever other sources, and then the ones we also procure directly, and then see whether we can hit the 40%
Okay.
It's not the best, but if they achieve that, I would be quite surprised and quite pleasantly surprised. I'll be quite, to be fair, quite happy that at least they made that much inroad into the vaccine. If they select correctly, it will help us a lot with the pandemic.
All right. That sounds like a plan. We'll take one call, take a break. Good morning.
Yeah, this is Kenny. I go back again, right?
All right.
So I was getting to a question, right?
Quickly.
I just want to know, why didn't you get a single jab? That's number one. The number two is, how do we protect these vaccines coming into Nigeria from corruption? Nigeria is a peculiar country, right? So you start seeing people walking the vaccines on the street.
Okay.
And where are the centers that we can go to take the vaccines? Thank you.
All right. So he'll answer the single jab question now. After the break, we'll talk about that corruption part, because I also have that question waiting for Dr. Ntia. Hello?
So the single jab vaccine, again, it came on later than the other ones that are already available off the shelf. And that single dose one, I'm sure as it develops, will become almost the preferred one down the line.
Yeah.
But remember, they finished, they got in their EUA, but they have to ramp up production to reach that level. And that is not easy at all. You know, the need for that one is about 2 billion doses for that one to be produced by 2021. If they get there, then maybe you can think about, can we get some? But it was available. I think we take this one now. We take it in the COVAX first tranche. And then as the other ones become available, the single dose one become available, then we can think about using that one for our particular realities in Nigeria.
All right. There's a Morning Crossfire 92.3 Nigeria info conversations with Dr. Ntia about our vaccines. Yes, they belong to us. Coming in today. After the break, we talk about administration of those vaccines. Don't go anywhere.
The Morning Crossfire.
Connect with your customers. Advertise on 92.3 Nigeria info. Visit our downtown office at Shop 9, Mediatrix of All Gracies Plaza, opposite FIRS, Stadium Road, Port Harcourt, and book your commercials. Call 0817 001 8162. That is 0817 001 8162. And let us connect you to your customers.
We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. We crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Crossfire in the morning. Get into the midday dialogue and tell you about the hard facts, and then let's talk into the chat station. All for you on 92.3 Nigeria Info. Nigeria Info.
Welcome back. It's still the Morning Crossfire 92.3 Nigeria Info. My name is Sam Oracle Chinedu, and we're talking about vaccines arriving in Nigeria today. Our guest, Dr. Nsikak Ntia, is still on the phone. Morning, Dr. Ntia.
Morning, Sam.
All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, we've been talking about this vaccine, how excited we are, and, well, whether or not it's the answer to our many problems. But now, you talked earlier about nations coming together on a continental scale. Well, it really seems like Africa is also taking the initiative because Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire have also taken delivery of their own vaccines. So let's talk about the next step from here. Lots of people are not certain that distribution and administration of these vaccines in Nigeria will go well. I'm not going to ask why. I think being Nigerian, you already understand why. But what do we need to do? As a matter of fact, what must we do to ensure that we do not ruin this process as we've ruined many things before now?
I think this is a golden opportunity for the guys who run COVID-19 mitigation framework in Nigeria score a fantastic hat trick. And the first of them is to assure that, one, they're organized, they have a plan, and they can work the plan. Number two, that the transparency means that they will do this in the not business as usual way that we tend to be using. And number three, that they can get the naysayers, sort of like off their back by doing a stellar job of, one, organizing this, selecting transparently, and communicating effectively. So I think that if they receive these doses today, already there should be a plan. There is a plan. I've heard boss talk about clearly going with the frontline health workers who are vulnerable at category 1A and going then with because even in the health force you need to segregate so that you can get the most vulnerable people if they're vaccinated first. Yeah. And then you get to the ones who are younger, if you like, or less vulnerable in the health line front line, as well as those in society who are identified as either elderly or vulnerable on account of their underlying conditions. So if you get these three groups, which are typically the first three groups to get vaccination for COVID around the world, then you know.
Hello? Hello? Hi there. And I'm going to try to reconnect with Dr. Ntia. We still have a couple of minutes left on the clock. I will also connect with you because I'm certain there are questions you need to answer. Now, the Nigerian Medical Association has faulted the National Primary Health Care Delivery Agency registration portal for COVID-19 vaccination. President of the NMA, Innocent Uja, said the procedure will violate the agreements of vaccinating frontline workers before any other person. So what this means is there was a portal put forward where it was stated that Nigerians could go and register to get vaccinated. It's actually up on our Facebook. You could go, it's Nigeria Info, I beg your pardon, facebook.com/Nigeria Info PH. So that link is an e-registration portal where you can register to say you want to be vaccinated. But the NMA, they're not for this. They're speaking against it and saying no, that portal should not exist because the initial plan was that the frontline workers get vaccinated. So this conflict is already posing problems in this almost perfect plan. Tell me what you make of this. Would you register to get vaccinated? Of course, Dr. Ntia would answer about that particular conflict between the NMA and the National Primary Health Care Delivery Agency. But I'd like to speak with you. Would you get registered to be vaccinated? All right, we seem to have Dr. Ntia back on the phone. Hello?
Hi, Sam. Sorry, a bit of a network bomb.
Yeah, so I was saying while that happened that the NMA was faulting the National Primary Health Care Delivery about the registration portal. I don't know if you've seen that. There's a portal for people to get registered.
I think that one of the things we should be very careful and very wary of is trying to throw spanners in the works of anything. The fact that they even tried to go on a portal and get the database, sort of reach and all of that should be complimented. I've tried to go on the site myself to see and all of that. So while is it the most optimal? Not necessarily, but that it's there and that it exists and that there's been an attempt to do this electronically is something that's maybe not also the usual in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So you go on the portal, it's free, you put your data there, and then based on that, it will segregate you and put you in a bucket. And then hopefully the intent is that as you get vaccinated, then you can pretty much almost, it will be recorded on the portal,
yeah.
In one way or the other. Remember, they call it the teach strategy. And what they mean by that is that, first of all, they're going to get folks who do normal vaccination, they also normally do like we do polio, but they're going to get the electronic registration done as well. So even as you tick off your vaccination, as you were, it's done on the portal as well.
Yeah.
And then there's the other bit for the maybe illiterate or less educated folk, which is called the assisted electronic registration of eligible Nigerians. So they will be assisted the way we have like health workers going around in communities to assist people who are not so literate or don't have that much smartphones or internet and all of that, register. And then you go on and do the vaccination again, making sure that you reach these people. And then I think at the last phase of all of this is the house to house. So that's what MPCA wants to do. Remember, you have you have a very small fraction of those required in country, and how you manage that is very crucial. And a very good way to show that at least there's an attempt to reach everybody is a portal like this. So rather than knock it down, I'm lauding it, and I'm saying no matter what's wrong with it, just having a database to walk through.
Okay. I get that, but I think that the enemy's position is you have to get to the frontline workers first. Hello?
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, so yes, it's nice that there's a portal for people to register, but I think the enemy is, they're stating very clearly that priority should be with frontline workers, because the 4 million will cover only 2 million persons. So let's get the frontline workers first vaccinated, then we can open it up to Nigerians to register. And
yes. But the portal doesn't say that frontline workers don't get. They're very clear, and BOSS has been consistent, Faisal has been consistent, that it comes first to the medical frontline workers first. And even in that group, the vulnerable in that group first.
Okay.
So there is no disagreement there. So to knock the portal idea, remember that there are many people trying to, the vaccines will come in a rush. There's a whole rush around the world right now, so you can understand the supply chain issues.
Yeah.
But after a while, it begins to become, currently today, there are 244 million people that have been vaccinated in the world. That's just about 0.6% of the world that's been vaccinated today. So one out of 200 people in the world are vaccinated, purely and mostly in the Western world or the frontline countries or the first world, if you like. Israel has been the most advanced in terms of population coverage, then the UK, and then the US and all of that. But I'm saying that just to have a database to help you step forward in planning, that you can match with your already existing data, it's a fantastic thing to do. I think if it was possible to do this before now, that would be even better. So you have people registering, everybody go on and register. That database, that portal will segregate depending on your characteristics and your vulnerabilities, and whether or not you are honest or not on that portal, at least it gives a certain way to go forward.
Yeah.
And as they go down that strategy, they'll be able to match it with that. And it's not going to be perfect, but it's something. And I pray it works. I pray the portal doesn't crash. I pray the usual Nigerian problem don't bedevil it. But it's a good way to get something that will help guide them as they go forward.
All right, finally, Dr. Ntia, what's the grand plan for Nigeria? Is it to get most people vaccinated or everyone vaccinated? Do you think we can get to that point where everyone must have gotten COVID-19 vaccination?
I don't think we can get there in 4 or 5 years. Every single person, no. But I think that's what I'm on the plan. And that's what I mean by that. The plan for Nigeria, besides do that, let me just say one quick word for Sam, because I know you're going to end of time.
All right.
The NIMA study, I don't know if you're aware of this study that came out, the seroprevalence study for antibodies that came out about a week ago, indicated that in the 4-state study, Enugu, Lagos, Nasarawa, and Gombe, that in Lagos and Enugu in 2,000 states that were studied, 10,000 people assayed, 23% of people had antibodies, which showed that they've been exposed to COVID previously, and the vast majority of them did not know. Let me give you some other insight to that. It means that in Lagos, that is quoting about 100 million, about 800,000 people confirmed positive. They would have had 4.5 million infections at the very least, people infected. That's the scale of the problem that we're looking at. But it also means that if people could walk through the disease without knowing that many people, then maybe the severity needs to be recalibrated. So I'm saying that because those who have antibodies, for example, already would have some degree of protection for some time.
Some resistance.
Now, if I come back to this plan and how we work forward with the exam plan for Nigeria, you get the frontline guys vaccinated, you get the vulnerable vaccinated, remember the vaccine is about reducing severity of illness and reducing death.
Yeah.
And then getting to the point where COVID infection in itself becomes one more diagnosis in our checkbook. You know? So that's the thinking around how we do that. And to do that, you want to get some like 70% of people that have antibodies, either by vaccination or by natural disease. And you get to that point, 40% 2021, 30% 2022. If they can achieve that, it takes I know it looks like far down the line, and everybody wants to participate today, but just our shared logistics burden, the shared diversity and far-flung to the east in Nigeria, means that if they get to 70%, that would have been a Herculean effort. But I hope that they can actually get to that point, and I would make this not become that much of a national pandemic or epidemic in itself. It looks like they will deal with it more focused way, in pockets that where arising.
Okay.
So ground plan is get the most vaccines to the most people in Nigeria, and then work the fractions that are not covered.
All right. So thank you very much, Dr. Ntia, for your time. It's been quite the conversation, truly engaging and enlightening. We appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Have yourself a beautiful day.
Always a pleasure.
Okay. So you've heard it. Our vaccines are coming. This is 8:54. Boss Mustafa says it arrives at 11:10. Time is ticking. It's almost here. My question for you is, will you get registered to be vaccinated? Now, the portal is on our Facebook. That's facebook.com/Nigeria InfoPH. It's the latest post for this morning. So click on that link and, will you get registered? Good morning.
Hello, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. JD on the line.
Talk to me.
Sir, I want to beg
the
Nigerian officials, please, in the name of God, in the name of all that is good, they should not handle this vaccination as if it is APC validation and registration exercise.
Oh my goodness. What is...
It is a serious issue. Nobody should try to hijack the process. It is health, it is life. So please, all stakeholders should be carried along. The medical officials, security, logistics, and IT. Those are the four components that will make this thing work. Security, logistics, medical officials, and IT. That is the only way this thing can work. And they should make sure everybody's in sync. They should hold regular meetings, agree before they put out anything out there so that there won't be any problem.
Okay.
Now that NMA is already disagreeing, we've not started. That's not a good sign. Please, the logistics matters a lot. They should consult external logistics experts to have them all over.
Okay.
But you need a lot of logistics to make these things work.
Truly.
So NGOs should be brought in and make sure that this thing works seamlessly. That's my appeal, please. I'm going to register for the vaccination.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much. So it's not political. Don't treat it. So, hello. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Yes, soldiers and the trainers block Oyibo Road here. No road here since morning.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that info. That's disconnected from our conversation. The beautiful Beauty Eru on our Twitter says they hoarded palliatives. People died from extreme hunger situations. But little to worry. They will not hoard vaccines. You see the sarcasm there. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Hello, good morning. My name is OG and I'm calling you from Rumibo.
Your name is Woji, calling from Rumibo.
No, my name is OG. Calling you from Rumibo.
Okay, I thought you loved Port Harcourt so much. Go ahead.
Just like what you have said, I think first of all you have to ask yourself, what is called vaccination and the reason for vaccination and who is to take vaccination. I think we should not look at this whole thing as polio. This is not polio. Neither is it any of this disease that one should vaccinate for the future. Who is to give out these vaccination drugs to us, and how reliable is it? Which and where were they sourced out? Because I think during the pandemic, when it was heavy on Nigeria, during that March, April, May, June, and the rest of them, if you go to the market, if you go to the pharmacy, there were so many of fake drugs. I stand to be corrected. Asking of the doctors, even then, it was online, it was on air, that people should not take anyhow drugs. So the question now is, who should be giving out to this as per the vaccine? Where are these vaccines gotten from? Is it truly the vaccine that was imported for we to use? Because if you ask me, I don't think I'm sick. I don't have any COVID-19, and I'm not ready to take any vaccine.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, if you've not been tested, you will not know. Lots of people have had it, and they've gotten better. Now, the PTF, the Presidential Task Force, has been in charge of everything COVID-19 connected so far. And so the COVID and everything that you see and hear coming out of that are all efforts the PTF has put together to ensure that it runs smoothly. Now, Nigerians are not quite certain that it will go well because of history and culture. I would not exactly blame them. But to answer a few of your questions, or the one answer that will answer all of them, is the PTF are the ones running things. In collaboration with other agencies, of course, that should help. And we are hoping they do a good job. If they do, your concerns, we would not need to think about it. You feel me? Okay. It's 27 seconds left. I believe that I have some comments. Oracle, what's wrong with us? How were the distribution done overseas? Okay. What's wrong with us? How were the distribution done overseas? Watch, you will see people asked to pay for it. So I can. Hopefully we don't get there. Now, we have a poll on Twitter, as we always do. It's important you go there and make your voice heard. E-registration for COVID-19 vaccination. The link is there. The question is, will you register to get vaccinated? Excuse me. It's up right now on our Twitter, so go there and vote and let's know what your position is. It's 9 o'clock. The news is upon us. I have heard that Okoro was commissioned yesterday. That seems to be good news, but some residents claim it's already bad news, that the traffic congestion in that part of town is impossible. So has the flyover solved the traffic problem? You and I find out in the next hour. I'm going to